Good afternoon from Vienna. Just a few informations before we officially start. The event is broadcast live and our video recording will be available in our website and will be shared with the registered participants. I'd like also to inform the participants, if the time permits, we'll be addressing your questions upon your registration of our event in the panelists. And of course, I use also the opportunity to ask our panelists when they take the floor to switch on their cameras and microphones and by clicking the respective icons. It's a special welcome to all the panelists. I wanted to share their expertise with us, to all the participants, and allow me briefly to set the objectives of this meeting. This meeting builds on the UNODC Youth Crime Prevention through Sports initiative under the Global Program for the Implementation of Doha Declaration and its lineup Live Up Life Skills Training Program through sports. And its specific objectives and aims of this event are to raise awareness on the role of sports as an enabler of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, including the SDG 16 on peace, justice and strong institutions. The second element is to discuss the role of sports in the context of holistic crime prevention approaches. Also showcase good practices and examples that you will hear from our panelists. And finally, to promote a multisectoral and innovative approaches and partnerships in the context of holistic youth crime prevention approach. I would like to inform all the participants this event is co-sponsored by the State of Qatar, and also would like to thank the State of Qatar for the initiative and the support of organizing the present event. I will pass now to introduce our distinguished speakers and welcoming remarks. So I have the great pleasure to give the floor to Mr. John Bandolino, Director of the Division of Treaty Affairs of UNODC. Mr. Director, thank you again for being with us, and always is reassuring to have your policy support. Thank you.
It's my great pleasure to welcome all of you today to this event on the contribution of the sports sector towards youth and community resilience and holistic crime prevention approaches. It's an honor for me to open today's event and welcome our distinguished speakers. I would like to start by thanking the State of Qatar for the initiative of organizing this side event and naturally for their support to UNODC and the Global Program for the Implementation of the Doha Declaration. It's under this program that UNODC Youth Crime Prevention through Sport initiative was developed and implemented across the globe. The Doha Declaration, adopted at the 2015 UN Crime Congress in Doha, places youth at the heart of crime prevention efforts and asks states to promote a culture of lawfulness, which requires us to support the next generation to change society for the better by fostering socially responsible global citizens with a sound moral and ethical compass. This message was reinforced by the recent Kyoto Declaration adopted during the 14th UN Crime Congress in March 2021, which reaffirmed the importance of empowering youth to become active agents of positive change in their communities to support crime prevention efforts, including by organizing social, educational, cultural, recreational, and sports-related youth programs. We must keep in mind, however, that crime prevention is not a matter to be addressed only by law enforcement and criminal justice systems. Effective crime prevention requires holistic and inclusive approaches that address the root causes of violence and crime by building strong partnerships with all relevant sectors of government, but also the private sector and civil society actors, including youth and the sports sector. This was again recognized by the General Assembly in 2019 with its Resolution 74/170 on integrating sport into youth crime prevention and criminal justice strategies. Indeed, sports offers a powerful tool for crime prevention and can be instrumental in reaching out to young people, including those at risk or in marginalized situations. Sports not only offers them a rewarding alternative to engaging in criminal behavior, but it can also provide opportunities for informal education, for skills development, learning, building positive social networks and role models. It can be used to generate safe public spaces for young people and local communities to get engaged, interact, and develop. And of course, the positive impact for sport on individuals for the good of society is also recognized in the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development and the promotion of tolerance and respect, as well as health, education, and social inclusion objectives. Another General Assembly Resolution 73/74 on sports as an enabler of sustainable development encourages relevant stakeholders to advance the use of sports as a vehicle to foster sustainable development, to strengthen multi-stakeholder partnerships, and encourage member states and other stakeholders, including international sports federations, organizers of sports events, sports clubs, and leagues, to continue and intensify their support for the work of the United Nations system in this area. And under UNODC's Global Initiative on Youth Crime Prevention for Sport, we've built on the power of sport for development and peace, and we've sought to strengthen youth and community resilience to crime, violence, and drugs. We're using sport to build the key life skills, and we've been able to provide positive spaces for youth development in over 14 countries, reaching out to over 150,000 people through trainings, policy workshops, and awareness-raising activities, including over 1,500 youth and over 1,200 sports coaches and teachers trained on the Line Up, Live Up curriculum and methodology, which Marco referred to and which I'm sure will be mentioned today during the discussions. We do this in cooperation with a wide range of partners, which includes sports actors, some of also you'll be hearing from today, and we've undertaken substantial efforts to advance the use of sports for crime prevention. I'm very proud of the achievements attained so far, and particularly working at the national, local, and the global levels for the common goal of building peaceful and inclusive societies. So sports actors are in fact an important part of our work, an important partner, and in 2020, September 2020, the office signed a memorandum of understanding with FIFA, which provides a framework for further cooperation, and the two entities are also collaborating in the field of using sport for youth development and preventing youth crime and drug use. And we also have long-standing cooperation with the International Olympic Committee in addressing crime through sport. We've also, at the national level, coordinating with sports actors, including the National Olympic Committees and sports federations in a number of countries. In the side event, we want to explore in more detail the role of sport actors for youth development and the advancement of the Sustainable Development Goals, including Goal 16. UNODC is also proud to work with its partners toward the attainment of Goal 17 of the SDGs, which is partnerships. So today we have the pleasure of having with us distinguished representatives of various sports actors to explore the role and responsibility of the sports sector in this area. UNODC appreciates the support of the state of Qatar and the cooperation with our partners and stands ready to continue leveraging sport for holistic and effective crime prevention. Thank you so much for allowing me to open this event, and I wish you a productive session.
Thank you, Director George, not only for being today with us, but all your support to the program and your commitment to continue translate policy into actions. That's what we do every day. I also picked away your last sentence. This event is being co-organized with the state of Qatar, and again, it is only one of the several actions that we had the privilege to partner with the state of Qatar. So thank you for the state of Qatar for co-organizing this event. I will move now to another part of the event with the intervention of Ms. Daniela Bass, Director of the Division of Inclusive Social Development, UNODC, and Ms. Daniela will deliver her message via a video message. So I'll ask the video to be passed, please. Thank you.
Good afternoon. It is with great pleasure that I welcome you to this side event. I'm Daniela Bass, the Director of the Division for Inclusive Social Development in the Department of Economic and Social Affairs, DESA. The division I lead is committed to supporting coordinating efforts for advancing sport for development and peace including as a tool to prevent crime among youth, to foster social inclusion, and to inspire and empower young people to lead healthy and active lives. In the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, member states recognize the sports as an important enabler of sustainable development, because the sport can also serve as an entry point for the prevention of conflict or violence, and plays a positive role in the advancement of human rights and the social and economic development. And well-designed sport-based initiatives have proven successful in providing the platform for psychosocial interventions required for reconciliation and resolution in post-conflict settings. Support is given by sport, and sport supports the process of peace building by bridging relationships across groups and communities that might otherwise tend toward distrust and hostility. You see, it is widely recognized by member states that sports play an important role in preventing and countering violent extremism and terrorism, and that it contributes to building resilience against violence and crime. In providing inputs for the 2020 report of the Secretary General on Sport as a global accelerator of peace and sustainable development, a number of member states shared relevant national initiatives, and these included a collaborative effort in Guatemala between the government, members of the UN country team, the Guatemalan Olympic Committee, and other stakeholders to form a sports bureau for the prevention of crime and peace building. This is an example, but let me give you another one, Moldova. UNDP reported on a program to address an unresolved conflict and divide that utilizes a sport to promote a healthy lifestyle among young people, especially across the conflict divide, and the integration of vulnerable groups into society. And another one in Georgia. The Georgia Rugby Union has partnered with the UN Women to raise awareness on violence against women. So addressing violence and crime is really a complex challenge that we have to face together. To effectively harness the power of sport, there is a need to accompany sport-based interventions with public investments in education, access to employment, social services, as well as access to justice and rehabilitation. And it has to be inclusive of people with and young people of all abilities and or disabilities. Only through effective partnerships will we truly be able to support initiatives, policies, and projects that ensure youth are not left behind. To this end, UNDESA cooperates with member states to build the capacities of developing countries to develop and implement policies and strategies that contribute to inclusive and sustainable economic development. And let me give you an example. We have been working with the countries in the African region to develop a training tool on sport for development and peace to train for government officials, non-governmental organizations, members of parliament, as well as national human rights institutions. This also works to foster cooperation within the UN system. And for example, last year with the UN Women, we penned an advocacy brief with more than 10 UN entities on recovering better, sport for development and peace, reopening, recovery, and resilience post-COVID-19. And the brief further recognizes the role of sport in achieving the SDGs, particularly SDG 16, including through its contribution to violence and crime prevention and its promotion of conflict prevention and peaceful coexistence. Recently, based on the success of the interagency advocacy brief, we initiated the creation of a UN interagency group on sport for development and peace to further strengthen UN system-wide coherence, increase and expand internal coordination among UN entities, and collaborate better to advance the role of sport as an enabler of development. And the group is currently considering how it can enhance coordination in terms of support for sport for development and peace, and its work with governments and the UN country teams, including in relation to youth. I'm therefore especially interested in the discussions of today's event. And with this, I wish to thank you and wish you a fruitful discussion. Thank you.
And we are also grateful for the video message of Ms. Daniela Vaz, the director. And obviously now, and our perspective is always to advance the use of sports for development, peace, and security, and obviously inside the framework of UN efforts. I now have the pleasure to introduce Georgia Dimitropoulou, which is the UNODC Crime Prevention and Criminal Justice Officer, and is our team leader of the Youth Crime Prevention through Sports component. So, which is going to moderate a very, very interesting section and the speakers that will come up next. So, Georgia, thank you for being such a collaborative team member. So over to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Marco. I would like to start thanking all the speakers for being with us today. And without further delay, I would like to introduce our first distinguished speaker, which is Dr. Fiset Sardien. He's the Executive Director of the Thai Institute of Justice. The Thailand Institute of Justice is a research institute which is affiliated with the United Nations Crime Prevention and Criminal Justice Program Network, established by the UN Secretariat with specific mandates to assist the international community in strengthening cooperation in the area of crime prevention and criminal justice. They work closely with the government of Thailand, which in 2019 sponsored a General Assembly resolution mentioned already by Director John Brandolino, 74/170 on the integration of sports on youth crime prevention and criminal justice strategies. This resolution provides a policy framework to leverage the use of sports in this context and foster cooperation and partnerships. Dr. Fiset, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Georgia. Distinguished panelists and participants, it is such a great honor for me to be able to participate in this side event, and I'm very happy that the theme of our event is Holistic Crime Prevention Approaches. At the Thailand Institute of Justice, or TIJ, we believe that the rule of law and the SDGs are interlinked, and this interlinkage provides ground for collaboration across sectors to enhance the crime prevention and criminal justice reform. TIJ's involvement in sport-based initiatives has been inspired by the work of our partner, and in this case, it's the Bounce Be Good, or the BBG Sport Club, which was initiated by Her Royal Highness Princess Pacharakitiyapha Mahidol. The club works with underprivileged children and aims to bring out their best potential and passion in the sport. We are also encouraged to learn of similar initiatives that have emerged across the globe, such as those under the UNODC Global Program sponsored by the government of Qatar. Building on these good practices, TIJ, in collaboration with the government of Thailand, proposed the resolution entitled Integrating Sports into Crime Prevention and Criminal Justice Strategies, which has already been alluded by John Brandolino. This resolution was adopted as Resolution 74/170 by the General Assembly in December 2019. And today I'm very pleased to talk briefly about this GA resolution and our ongoing efforts to promote its implementation at the regional and domestic levels. The resolution invites the member states, UNODC, and sports associations at all levels to work together in promoting the sport in the context of youth crime prevention and reducing reoffending. To provide further recommendations to the member states and stakeholders, the resolution requested that UNODC convene an expert group meeting, which subsequently took place in Bangkok in December 2019. One of the highlighted recommendations is coordination and partnerships among various sectors, including the community at all levels, are essential for sustainable intervention. Along this vein, TIJ has been actively engaging with new players to enhance the participation of the sports sector through partnership and collaboration. TIJ has worked with the Ministry of Tourism and Sports of Thailand and began to promote implementation of the GA resolution in the Southeast Asia region. Under the auspices of the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, or ASEAN, the initiative integrating sports into youth crime prevention and building resilience in societies has been included in the ASEAN Work Plan of Sport 2021 to 2025. Under Thailand's proposal, we aim to create a community of practices through identifying good practices and sharing information in the region. This initiative is well received among stakeholders because it echoes the strong belief in the region that the sport can contribute to development and peace. Moreover, this inclusive approach adopted by the ASEAN member states provides a favorable environment for every sector to work together on the same goals. At the domestic level, a remaining concern to be addressed is on underprivileged children who are at risk of falling into the cycle of violence. As part of our effort, the TAJ, the BBG Sport Club, and the partners join hands in re-engineering the programs to benefit children in the Child Protection and Development Center in Rayong Province, Thailand. From 2020, the new programs incorporate sport prominently, along with education, vocational training, and other recreational activities such as music and art for children. Empowering the staff to better respond to the needs of the children is also part of this redesign. While still at an early stage, we noticed the reduction in the incidents of violence previously reported as committed by the children at the center. We also have heard about positive feedbacks from the local community and the children themselves. From working with partners across sectors, there are a few lessons learned that I would like to highlight tonight. First, while the contribution of sport is well recognized, we have to admit that other recreational activities could not be left out. Access to education and vocational training remain fundamental as well to address the root causes, in particular in the case of underprivileged children. Secondly, we need to create a suitable environment where every sector can work together with an understanding of the common goal. And this might involve a deliberate process of discussion for everyone to be on the same page. And then when we talk about all stakeholders, this should also include the family and the community. Therefore, awareness raising remains an important aspect that we need to think about in scaling up the role of the sports sector in building resilience in society. And last but not least, evaluation and monitoring are essential for the sustainability of the program. I appreciate the fantastic work of all stakeholders in the region and across the globe in advancing the contribution of sport in crime prevention and criminal justice. There are still rooms that we can further work on together at this, for instance, at this, the 30th session of the UN Crime Commission. Thailand sponsors a follow-up draft resolution built upon this 74/170 resolution. And among the new elements, this draft resolution provides further grounds for a creation of the community of practice. We are looking forward to working together with all the stakeholders. And with that, I conclude my remark and thank you very much for your kind attention.
Thank you very much, Dr. Fisset, for your presentation and also for setting the stage for today's events, which looks in particular at the role of the sports sector on how and how cooperation with the sports sector can be formalized and strengthened in the context of holistic crime prevention strategies and frameworks. Also take note of the two points you made at the very end, so the importance of monitoring and evaluation on the impact of this intervention, but also the fact that you underlined that this has to be as part of holistic interventions, and sports can be used to deliver not sport outcomes linked to education, for example, skills development. And I'm sure there are speakers today that are following, they're gonna also share their experience on using sports to provide this type of support to young people, education and skills development and other type of support. Thank you very much, and we look forward to our continued cooperation with the Thailand Institute of Justice as UNODC. Now, allow me to pass to our next speaker, Mr. Stefan Fox. He's the Secretary General of the International Federation of Muay Thai Associations. Mr. Fox is today with us on this specific function as the Secretary General of the International Federation of Muay Thai. But he's also, I have to say that he's also an athlete. He's also the Vice President of the Global Association of International Sports Federation, which is recognized by the IOC. And he's also the President of AIMS and United Through Sports, an alliance of many organizations working together through sports to address injustice, poverty, discrimination, among other challenges and risk factors to violence and crime. So we're very happy that we have him with us today, and we're looking forward for his presentation. So, Mr. Fox, the floor is yours.
Bonjour, good day, guten Tag, assalamu alaikum, hola, sawadee-kap, a wonderful good morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are. Distinguished participants, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, I'm honored to be with you today for this UNODC event focusing on crime prevention through sport. I believe that our patterns, habits, actions, and behavior shape our mindset and therefore influence our future. We are at risk to repeat what we don't repair. I have been involved in martial arts all my life, from judo to karate to boxing, kung fu to Muay Thai, where I found my home. Therefore, I'm very happy that Dr. Pisset was in front of me and speaking from the motherland of Thailand. I began as a student, become a competitor, instructor, official, and finally stepping into the administrator position, which I dedicate myself to each and every day. I very much recall fondly when I stood with pride, having won my first belt. Ego very much took the center stage, and I remember clearly the words of my wise and sadly missed mentor, who told me, "Young Fox, the first belt is what you take out of Muay Thai, but the belts no one sees is what you give back." It is very simple. The only time we look down in Muay Thai is when we reach out to help someone else back on their feet. I very much believe that martial arts in general play an important role as a tool towards crime prevention. We see evil triumph when humans choose to do nothing. We all believe that the time is always right to do simply what is right. We're living in a world where for many, the future is limited by violence, inequality, child labor, poverty, sexual harassment, and the list goes on. We all must face this reality, and we're also facing this reality and the access in the world of sport. For many youth, they are blessed to choose what brand of running shoes to buy, Adidas, Nike, or Puma. But ladies and gentlemen, let's be clear, far many more. There never be any running shoes, except their feet to carry them away from their burning homes and danger. Therefore, we must continue to work to empower our youth through sports to rise above the many challenges they are facing, which deprive them of their dignity and autonomy. Over 10 years ago, IGMA, the world governing body for Muay Thai, along with our stakeholders, set together to see how we can contribute to youth development using Muay Thai as a tool towards a better world. We understand that there is no universal concept. The streets of Kabul are different to the streets of Sydney, by example. But inside our organization, regardless from where we are, we wanted to stand together, understanding that we all rise by lifting others. We started our initiative, Sport is Your Game. This youth-oriented mission was to support youth from challenged backgrounds, promoting dialogue, encouraging positive self-development, and an important healthy lifestyle, rather than belonging to a street gang and being part of a violent lifestyle. We encouraged this youth to join simply the gang of sport, especially in communities facing hardship, vast unemployment, large immigrant population. We have taken Sport is Your Gang from being an internal Muay Thai initiative to branch out, reaching further and working together with governments, NGOs, and other sports to provide safe space, instructors, and social workers so they understand the situation these children face. We work with health and education organizations so that these youth can be provided or given medical assistance. Ladies and gentlemen, this takes a dedicated team with a shared vision at the heart. Today, this initiative has over 30,000 youth around the world, from the streets of Bangkok to Mexico City, to Peru, from Peru to Los Angeles, to Johannesburg, and the list goes on. We guide our national federation to ensure these projects are important, self-sustainable, relative to their resources, and promote athletes' engagement. We work closely with law enforcement and the justice system to send our champions to the streets, to juvenile centers, to connect with the troubled youth. And this is where we really get their attention and we listen. A Muay Thai champion who the youth can relate to, know and respect, gives them a relatable role model. For those who have themselves walked the difficult paths in life but found stability and place to call home through martial art is an effective way to reach the youth. Our champions have a clear message. Every champion was once a contender. We simply refuse to give up. We must and we will continue this journey. This is why we are part of over 100 organizations who have joined forces with United Through Sports. These organizations continue to work together for one goal: to give our youth a better chance for tomorrow, to create opportunities regardless to their differences or abilities, and together, like today, we take action. We can do so much more together, but at the same time, individually, we can help to lead a revolution inside of others. Let us be encouragers. I think personally, this word has enough critics already. A question we must ask ourselves moving forward is how can we all contribute in our different capacity post-pandemic to keep and increase momentum, ensuring sport remains a protective factor, a tool to prevent crime and encourage pro-social development. Well, ladies and gentlemen, colleagues, let us start as we are today. Let us all sit around the same table, join our resources with a united strategy simply to achieve better. Our united effort is worth the future of our youth. We must call upon everybody to contribute, work in the spirit of dedication to ensure positive social development for everybody all around the world. To start a better world is the simple belief that it is possible. The youth is the hope for all our future. We all understand, ladies and gentlemen, our work is not easy, but talking from my personal experience, believe me, it's definitely worth it. I would like to leave you with our kids from Mexico, and I thank you, and I'm looking forward for further discussion. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Fox. We will now play a short video on the Sport is My Gang initiative, so participants can have a small insight on what is this about. Lucia, there is no sound.
muchos amigos que entrenan conmigo. A mí me gusta pues practicar y hacer mucho ejercicio.
Yo no sabía que el Muay Thai iba a ser tan bonito y pues me ha enseñado que pues no solo es defensa personal, sino que también puede ser algo más aparte de eso.
Mi primer día en Muay Thai tenía ganas de echarme a correr, tenía pensamientos muy raros. Cuando entré sentí un poco de nervios.
So let me thank Mr. Stefan Fox for sharing with us this interesting work of International Federation of Muay Thai Association that they're doing across the globe, using sports to tackle risk and protective factors of violence and crime. The Sport is My Gang is a very inspiring initiative with a powerful motto thing, which brings together different actors to work with and for young people, focusing particularly on those that are most vulnerable, helping them, as he said, quoting him, being champions of their life. Mr. Fogg, let's see this event as a starting point for our cooperation. Now, we'd like to move on to our next presentation. I have the pleasure to introduce a video message by Mr. Yuri Djurkaev, who many of you may know as a football player, but he's also the Chief Executive Officer of the FIFA Foundation. And through this pre-recorded message, he will guide us through the work of the FIFA and the FIFA Foundation in promoting the use of football in particular for achieving social development goals, including Social Development Goal 16 on peace and security, and how they work with youth and local communities. So let's watch the video message.
Tous. Permettez-moi de me présenter, je suis Yuri Djurkaev. Je faisais partie de l'équipe de France qui a gagné la Coupe du Monde de la FIFA en 1998. Une expérience inoubliable. Quand nous avons gagné, des gens de toutes les couleurs, de toutes les religions et de tous les milieux sociaux sont descendus dans les rues de France pour célébrer la grande victoire ensemble. Ce qui n'avait pas été fait en France depuis la fin de la Seconde Guerre mondiale. Remporter le titre le plus prestigieux du football mondial, c'est quelque chose d'extraordinaire. Cela change une vie. Lorsque nous avons bandé le trophée de la Coupe du Monde de la FIFA en 1998, nous étions l'une des équipes de France les plus fortes et diverses de l'histoire. Nous formions un groupe uni, issu de différentes origines. Nous avons tous grandi dans des contextes différents, mais une chose nous rassemblait, notre amour pour le football. Tout au long de ma vie, j'étais un fervent défenseur de l'utilisation du sport pour partager les valeurs du football dans tous les milieux et communautés du monde entier. Nommé directeur général de la Fondation FIFA en 2019, ce poste me permet de mettre en pratique les convictions de la FIFA et de la société moderne. À la Fondation FIFA, nous travaillons avec des organisations du monde entier pour utiliser la force du football en tant que vecteur de changement social et d'amélioration de la vie des jeunes, tout en contribuant aux objectifs de développement durable des Nations Unies. Nous avons le privilège d'aider des ONG dans le monde entier et de concrétiser l'ODD 16 des Nations Unies, promouvoir l'avènement de sociétés civiles, assurer l'accès de tous à la justice et mettre en place des institutions responsables et ouvertes à toutes les communautés. Depuis sa création en 2018, la Fondation a contribué à bâtir des communautés fortes et durables grâce au football. Nous soutenons 169 ONG dans 78 pays et touchons des dizaines de milliers de personnes grâce à nos actions sur le terrain. Le football est le sport le plus populaire au monde et peut-être à ce titre toucher plus de gens que n'importe quel vecteur. Dans cette optique, la Fondation FIFA s'appuiera sur la force de notre sport pour s'attaquer aux principaux problèmes auxquels notre planète est confrontée et pour générer un changement social positif dans les communautés les plus vulnérables et les plus isolées. Le football est un excellent outil pour interagir avec les jeunes et les adultes, leur permettre d'acquérir de nouvelles compétences, encourager la tolérance, le respect et l'égalité ou encore promouvoir l'inclusion et la cohésion sociale. Et aussi, tout simplement, continuer à rêver et à jouer. De fait, la Fondation FIFA vient de mener un projet en Arménie qui regroupe toutes ces valeurs, le programme Fondation FIFA Campus. Ce campus s'est déroulé pendant 7 jours à Yerevan, en Arménie. Il a réuni des garçons et des filles venus de différents horizons, d'orphelinats, de familles de réfugiés, de minorités nationales ou pour certains, victimes de handicaps mentaux. Des experts techniques de la FIFA, des entraîneurs de football de la Fédération arménienne et des jeunes leaders de communautés locales ont proposé des séances d'entraînement de qualité à ces enfants. En marge du terrain, les participants ont pris part à des activités éducatives et à des jeux organisés par des experts des agences des Nations Unies, l'UNICEF et l'UNFPA et l'ONG My Forest Arménie. Les questions de santé mentale, de résilience, d'égalité des sexes, de nutrition, le football en tant qu'outil d'intégration et le changement climatique ont ainsi pu être abordés dans un cadre ludique et professionnel. En collaboration avec le ministère de la Santé arménien, des examens de base et des suivis médicaux ont pu être réalisés en marge du programme. Cette semaine restera gravée dans le mémoire car, au-delà de son lancement, nous avons été les témoins directs des effets du programme Campus. Les compétences et les talents que ces enfants ont découverts et acquis grâce aux équipes de différents départements de la FIFA impliqués, au travail sur le terrain des joueurs de l'équipe nationale arménienne et aux sessions spéciales sur le respect et le fair play menées par Massimo Busaka, directeur d'arbitrage de la FIFA, leur seront certainement très utiles pour leur développement personnel et adaptation à la société. Nous sommes convaincus que le football contribue au progrès social et en général à la réalisation de l'ODD 16 en particulier. La fondation de la FIFA a pour but d'accompagner le progrès social grâce au football. Nous sommes bien décidés à élever les champions de demain sur le terrain comme en dehors. Et nous pensons qu'en travaillant avec des ONG du monde entier, le football peut donner aux enfants la capacité de rêver et d'exploiter pleinement leur potentiel. Je vous remercie de votre attention et je vous laisse découvrir la vidéo de présentation du projet Campus de la Fondation de la FIFA en Arménie. Je suis Yuri Djorkaev, CEO de la Fondation FIFA. Merci. Everything that we're doing here is together. You received a band for the captain. Because for the FIFA Foundation, you are all captain. Okay? Let's go to play.
Today we have organized 2 games for children called quiz ball games, which combine the entertainment together with knowledge component.
L'importance de ce programme-là pour développer le football dans des populations où généralement l'accès au football est très compliqué. Le campus, c'est comment faire pour comment améliorer, donner une expérience, une première expérience à tous ces jeunes, aussi bien au niveau football qu'au niveau éducatif.
Ամեն մի երեխա կցանկանա գալ այս ճամբարը եւ իր կյանքի ամենից վառ հուշերից մեկը կլինի այդ օրը.
It's important to participate, it's important to win, But we don't have to forget that respect is the most important. And this is what we have to really teach the children. Believe in what you are doing, make the sacrifice, respect, and then you will arrive for sure on the target.
Мы хотим, чтобы у нас были дети счастья. И даже что сейчас здесь создано, для них это им в первую очередь поддержка, показать, что есть и другая сторона в этой жизни, где царит и радость, и позитив, и гармония, и любовь. Поэтому, чтобы они были внутри, именно в сердце счастливы. И наполнить их как можно больше любовью.
You remember the first day I told you that you are all captain at the campus. And today, you will be the captain when you turn back to your place, to your home, to take care of the tree, because tree is life. And new generation need to take care of her life. They don't want to stop. We want to continue the campus, and this is a mission accomplished because we are branding every day. Every day we say, okay, what next? What next? And the next is already tomorrow. And tomorrow we will traveling to Europe and starting to plan the next campus.
FIFA Foundation brings together, I think, two really important points that support the Sustainable Development Goals. And that is, one, the role of sport in achieving the goals, and the other is the role of supporting the youth, who are both, of course, our future, but also the providing solutions for the challenges that we face today. It was great for us to be able to partner, and we look forward to it next time, hopefully soon.
So this was an interesting and informative video, not only of the work of FIFA, but I think also on the potential of sports in building youth and community resilience through interventions like the youth sport camps presented today. As already mentioned, UNODC has signed recently a memorandum of understanding with FIFA, aiming to strengthen the cooperation between the two organizations, also on youth crime and drug use prevention through sports. And so I'm really looking forward to materializing this cooperation through joint programming. Moving on, we will stay on football and the FIFA World Cup, and we'll look at how major sport events offer an opportunity to raise awareness and promote the use of sports in the context of social development, working with youth and local communities. Mr. Khaled Al-Sawadi is the Senior Stakeholders Relation Manager of the Supreme Committee for Delivery and Legacy for the World Cup in 2022 in Qatar, and is with us today. Mr. Khaled, thank you very much for being with us. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much. And thank you very much for having me with you today. Let me start by addressing your excellencies and your distinguished guests. It's our honor as the state of Qatar to be able to organize this important event, examining how the sports sector targets youth and local communities in order to prevent crime in a holistic manner. As you all know, young people make about 1.8 billion of the world population, and they are arguably the most important agents of change. They are also sadly at the high risk of involvement in crime, drug use and violence. The Doha Declaration of 2015 recommended that effective crime prevention requires the active engagement of youth and stressed the importance of holistic crime prevention efforts through social development approaches. The Doha Declaration Global Program, supported by the state of Qatar, puts this recommendation into action through integrating sport into cross-cutting crime prevention and criminal justice strategies. For example, the Line Live app activities engaged youth in targeted crime prevention activities and enhanced the capacity of member states to use sport as a tool for effective youth crime prevention. After 5 years of creative implementation, the legacy of Doha Declaration Global Program has become a part of our common heritage in crime prevention, and we now need to build upon this rich experience. Besides the role of sports as a tool for effective youth crime prevention, it's also a tool to promote peace, justice, tolerance, and respect among people and communities. The state of Qatar has realized the vital role of sport as an effective tool for peace and dialogue among people and nations, and has significantly invested in sporting activities at both national and international levels. At the national level, Qatar has highlighted sport as a driving factor in Qatar National Development Strategy 2030. The grassroots activities have been prioritized. To demonstrate the commitment, the second Tuesday of every February every year is designated as the National Sports Day. It's a public holiday aimed at promoting participation in sport, with hundreds of sport events taking place throughout the country. Internationally, Qatar considers sport as a tool to forge friendship and to enhance relationships between the world's nations, as well as a platform for cultural exchange and youth empowerment. Generation Amazing, one of our World Cup legacy programs, is one example of such work, having benefited so far the lives of more than 700,000 young people in 10 different countries through Football for Development, since it was started back in 2010. By 2022, by next year, we will have touched the lives of over 1 million people. Qatar has a strong track record of hosting international sporting events and investing in world-class training facilities. During the last 10 years, Qatar has been the venue for more than 30 major international and regional events. Most recently with the FIFA Club World Cup that took place in January and February of this year, in spite of the challenges of the COVID-19 pandemic. Excitingly, the first edition of the FIFA Arab Cup will be taking place at the end of this year in Doha. And of course, the country is prepared to welcome the world in over 18 months' time when we host the big tournament, the FIFA World Cup. That will be the first of its kind in the Arab world and the Middle East. On behalf of the Supreme Committee for Delivery and Legacy, I would like to call upon all international sport and youth organizations and institutions to join us at the world's greatest sporting event in November of next year. Let us work together to make the FIFA World Cup Qatar 2022 a festival of sport and of youth. And also let's work together to make it an occasion to empower young people and promote sustainable development, peace, justice, and solidarity among nations. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Khaled Al Saudi, for this informative presentation. It is in fact very great to see the potential that major sport events have to promote sports for development. It also provides a good opportunity for all the actors involved, including the host countries, as in this case Qatar and the Sports Federation, to explore systematic and structured ways within the context of the planning and organizing major sport events to amplify the impact of sports for the SDGs and also ensure sustainability of these initiatives and projects that are developed in this context to continue benefiting young people beyond the event itself. Thank you again very much for your participation in the event today. Now, moving on in our agenda, I have the pleasure to welcome Ms. Ana Joselina Fortin Pineda. She's an Olympic athlete, she's a swimmer, and is also the Commissioner of Sports in the Republic of Honduras, as well as the Vice President of Honduras Olympic Committee. Anna will guide us through the sports for development work and in Honduras, and we are very happy to have her also with us today, and looking forward for your presentation, Anna. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Georgia and Marco. Good afternoon to all. I want to thank the UNODC and the State of Qatar for the invitation to this event. You can move to the next slide. As an Olympic athlete and sport leader for more than 20 years, I know from experience the power that sports has as a tool to achieve development and peace, as a tool against violence and crime prevention. Regular participation in sports and physical activities generates various health and social benefits. Not only does it have a direct impact on fitness, but it also instills healthy lifestyle choices in children and young people, helping them to be active and fight non-communicable diseases. which help us to maintain a healthy body and a healthy mind. Next slide. But also the impact it has through the education of values for life, promoting discipline, honesty, teamwork, respect, tolerance, and empowerment of women, children, youth, individuals, and communities, reinforcing also social inclusion. In short, the benefits that the practice of sports and physical activities gives us is incalculable. Next slide. However, in Honduras, as in the rest of the world, the COVID-19 pandemic is having an unprecedented impact on sports activities, athletes, and all people who practice sports. The confinement measures, restrictions of mobility measures to contain the pandemic have resulted in sports activities, professional and amateur competitions in all sports being canceled, and in the best of the cases postponed. Next slide. The sports authorities have carried out a series of actions framed in the guidelines of the Ministry of Health and in the provisions of the government of Honduras, having as a priority to guarantee the health and safety of the athletes and all Hondurans, reassuring the fight against youth violence and crime through sports, for which the different federations and the Olympic Committee have sought various alternatives for athletes to continue training, developing routines with coaches and providing sports training materials as much as possible. Next slide. Unfortunately, in the current context where countries are beginning to recover from the social and economic impacts of the pandemic, sport is not being seen as a priority. Budget cuts, reduction in public investment in sports infrastructure or sports programs that prevent violence and promote coexistence and social tolerance are at their minimum levels, and in some cases have disappeared. Sports in Honduras continues to face many difficulties, economic, logistical, and infrastructure and social difficulties. The government of Honduras before COVID-19 had invested heavily in the construction and reconstruction of small sports complexes in the country, remodeling of soccer stadiums, and assuming an investment for the infrastructure and implements for the practice of sports, using sports as a valid tool for the prevention of conflicts, violence, and crime, and the promotion of peace. Within the framework of the fulfillment of the Sustainable Development Goals, Honduras government has built since 2015 a total of 102 parks for a better life in 16 of the 18 departments of the country. These parks have areas for the practice of sports, small athletic tracks, and practice of exercises and physical routines. Next slide. A health initiative called Activate began also with the purpose of promoting a healthy lifestyle. But due to all the problems that we are living due to the COVID-19, we need to reorganize and practically start over. Next slide. Teamwork on behalf of the government, international organizations, national Olympic committees, sport federations, the Secretary of Education, local governments, private sector, and civil society must work together, creating a cooperation or partnership to promote a new policy framework with common objectives to bring all these actors together to promote youth violence and crime prevention, equal access to sports programs and facilities, construction of more safe spaces to practice sports activities throughout the national territory, training of sports coaches and facilitators, working in strategic alliances between schools, federations, sports organizations. We must work all together. Next slide. But it is now in this new reality for countries like Honduras where we need the support of the most developed countries, of international organizations, since nothing moves if there is no investment. And as Mr. Mandela once said, sports has the power to change the world. It has the power to inspire. It has the power to unite people in a way that little else does. So let's change the world together through sports. Thank you very much.
Jana, thank you. Thank you very much for this inspiring presentation and for underlining the importance of working together for achieving joint goals. When it comes to crime prevention and young people, the sports, youth, education and justice sector together can do much more. We've seen it also as UNODC through our experience in the Doha program and the crime prevention initiative the last years. We do need this partnership for effectively addressing the root causes for violence and crime and supporting young people and local communities. Ensuring also access to sports and creating safe public spaces for young people is essential, especially in urban settings and in communities impacted by violence. And thank you for underlining this also. As UNODC, we're looking forward to continue working with you and supporting the efforts of the National Olympic Committee in Honduras and other relevant actors on integrating sports-based intervention in the crime prevention policies and strategies. Thank you again for being with us today. And now, moving on, we'll stay with the Olympic Committee. And for the closing of this event, we have a presentation on the Olympic values that will be at the core of every sports activity and are at the core of the Sports for Development and Peace policy and practice, and to guide and inspire our work in this sector. Unfortunately, Ms. Ksenia Kurguzova from the Olympic Foundation of Culture and Heritage that was seen in the agenda today due to a very sudden family emergency couldn't be with us today. But I'm very happy to welcome in our event today Ms. Kostadina Orologopoulou. And Kostadina, thank you very much for being with us today, and she's going to deliver a presentation on her behalf. Thank you very much, Kostadina. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Georgia. Good afternoon to all the participants. As you said, Ms. Kurguzova could not be here today, so I'm replacing her. I would like to convey all her best wishes for this meeting. I'd also like to thank you for inviting the IOC to participate in this very interesting discussion about youth crime prevention through sport. So myself, I am focusing on the aspects of anti-corruption in sport within the IOC, and we have the pleasure to collaborate with UNODC on this project for many years. So it's another pleasure to be here today, even if I'm replacing Ms. Kurguzova. And I'd like now to introduce the Olympic Values Education Program of the IOC, which is aiming at two main objectives: to ensure a healthy lifestyle for youth, as well as to ensure that the Olympic values are promoted through all the different ways within all the stakeholders of the Olympic movement. So the Olympic Values Education Program, or OVEP, is a practical set of learning resources which is designed to inspire and allow young people to experience life values such as excellence, respect, and friendship. And here you can see a list of the different materials that the IOC has put in place to provide these education tools. But there are many more activities that can be created through these materials by the different stakeholders that are interested to develop in their own context this program of education of Olympic values. So who is OVEP for? This tool is designed to benefit youth from all walks of life and all levels of athletic ability and interest. And it can be used for education purposes by teachers and instructors within the school context, by coaches and sports clubs when we speak about purely athletic activities, but also by governments at national level and other educational authorities, members of the Olympic family, volunteers, but even parents at home. Now the OVEP objectives, the main objective is the realization of what we call the Olympic ideal of building a better world through sport. But more specifically is the creation of a sustainable platform to address the societal issues such as healthy lifestyle, the social inclusion and integration, gender balance, physical and academic literacy, but also the rebuilding of local communities. And where we saw the opportunity to strengthen this work within OVEP was the adoption of the strategic roadmap of the Olympic movement earlier this year, the Olympic Agenda 2020+5. And among the recommendations of this agenda, the recommendation number 10 is giving the opportunity for the OVEP to be further strengthened by strengthening also the role of sport as an important enabler for the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. And for this, we have set different objectives such as building on existing relationships with the United Nations agencies to influence the global social policy change. They help to other sport organizations towards being safe, inclusive, accessible organizations and aligned with the UN Sustainable Development Goals, and in particular the goal 16, which we're discussing today, but also through our national Olympic committees around the world to promote the Olympic values at the national level by enhancing our Olympic solidarities programs about social development and youth. So this is achieved through a wide range of stakeholders. First, internally, the OVEP material and education is really being used by almost all our departments. So by the Olympic Solidarity, the National Olympic Committee's Relations Department for further promotion at national level, but also there is potential in the Olympic Games and Youth Olympic Games, the Olympic Refuge Foundation, but also in our communications, sports and athletes departments. Also, of course, through our stakeholders, there are already developed activities with OVEP at national level by the National Olympic Committees, and all these activities and examples are available online on our website on OVEP. But also we have already collaborated with different organizing committees, and we're ready to also promote this project with the young ambassadors and the athletes roles models. And finally, with external organizations such as, of course, the agencies and the UNODC, but also NGOs, other associations, educational authorities, and so on. So thank you very much. Thank you for having once again the IOC invited in this event, and I'm sure Ms. Kurguzova will follow further the development of these discussions, but we're looking forward to collaborating with UNODC further and to use our educational material further to support this very important effort of UNODC and of the state of Qatar towards the youth crime prevention through sport, and we really are ready to further strengthen our collaboration. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Kostadina Mixorologopoulou, for the presentation on the Olympic Values Education Program of the IOC. As you said, is one of the many initiatives that IOC has in this area. And indeed, we're also looking forward to expand our cooperation with IOC from tackling crime in sports, also in preventing crime through sports and promoting social development. We're looking forward. As many of our speakers said today, respect, tolerance, equality, and social inclusion are the values that young people and communities need in order to build a better world. And sports provide a great platform for promoting those values and supporting young people. But we cannot do this without the sports sector, without the athletes, the federation, the sports clubs. Their role is essential, and this is why today in this event we choose to give the floor to the sports people to hear on their views and their perspectives, and also learn from their experiences on how we can strengthen this cooperation and partnerships and integrating sports in crime prevention strategies. With this said, I would like to thank all our distinguished speakers today and all the participants of this event. And I would like to give the floor now to Ms. Marco Teixeira, the Global Coordinator of the Global Program from the implementation of the Doha Declaration, for a few closing remarks to close the event. Thank you again.
Thank you, George, and let me take from where you left to appreciate our speakers and also the very thoughtful interventions that make us reflect and also be optimistic for the future. So I'm very aware of the time, so 3 ideas, 3 minutes as my takeaways, if I may suggest. First, there is the common understanding that sports has enormous potential for peace, violence, and crime prevention, and to build respect and mutual understanding. And it is the core of sport and sport values, the principles of fair play, respect, tolerance, equality, inclusion, and all of those core values are essential to build fair and more just societies. That will be my idea number 1. Idea number 2 from this event, sport can prevent and can present an opportunity to support positive youth development and well-being. And we saw and we have listened to some examples of it. Can also offer support and facilitation to inclusion, promote lively health styles, and also can be effectively on reaching vulnerable and marginalized youth. That will be idea number 2 from this event. The idea number 3, the role of sport and sports sector and sports actors, some of them were with us in this event, is essential to leverage the contribution of sports as a tool for development, for peace, and promoting sport values that are and can be translated into our lives, into create community resilience to crime and violence. I am also aware of the General Assembly Resolution 74/170 on integrating sports in crime prevention, criminal justice strategies. So for sure, you will count with UNODC to work alongside with national stakeholders to incorporate and integrate sports program as a tool for national crime prevention frameworks and strategies. And with that said, it was a pleasure to share this virtual space with all of you and with such a pool of distinguished panelists and speakers, and for sure we're looking forward to join forces with all of you and UNODC, obviously to continue to promote sports for development and peace. Looking forward to the next discussion. A special thanks for the State of Qatar for co-organizing this event with us, to the speakers, to all the participants that are watching this live broadcast, and to my fantastic team. A big thank you to you for always continue to build success. Thank you. Have a nice afternoon. Thank you.